back in the early 90s, attending a UFC event, that's got to be like on par with like, remember when they caught Pee Wee Herman in the movie theater treating himself like if he was Stretch Armstrong? You know what I'm talking about. And I love Pee Wee Herman. Welcome to episode 1 of another like show / podcast type of venture that I'm not sure if I'm gonna get past episode 7 again, but we're gonna try. And I don't know what I'm naming it yet because I think I'm gonna try to be keyword intelligent, and I'm gonna name it like UFC news, MMA highlights, breakdowns, predictions, betting show or something. I don't know. Even though I'm not into betting, so probably not betting. I still don't understand betting, to be honest with you. Like the negative and positive, and then supposedly when it's negative, that's actually positive for the dude who's negative. Like the dude who's the overdog is negative. It makes no sense to me, but that's okay. I'm not a betting man. I want to say something right off the bat. This show is definitely not going to be for everybody. This show is kind of like, I don't even know if it's going to have the potential to be for anybody new. I feel like it's kind of like for people already in the family that kind of already get the vibe and the atmosphere. This is going to be the kind of show where, and I need to like refuse from the get to never put like a single photo or anything like that, because then I'm going to put 5 photos and then I'm going to put 15 photos and then I'm going to put 1,100 photos. And I don't want to do that because I've done that in the past. So I want this to be the kind of show where you can 100% listen while it's in your pocket. And you don't even ever have to feel tempted to look at the screen. It's 100% I just want you to carry me around in your pocket, like prison style, homie. Serio. I want you to be able to be doing your laundry, doing your dishes, mowing the lawn, trying to fall asleep, but you have insomnia. But do you really have insomnia? Because you're probably only staying awake because you're listening to this. Or are you perpetuating your own insomnia? Doesn't matter. Who knows? You're awake and I'm there with you. Am I keeping you awake? Maybe, but don't overthink it. So I want it to be the kind of thing where it's like you're commuting, you're doing whatever, you're at work, and your hair's kind of longer, you have a hat on, your boss can't tell that you have earbuds in, whatever it is. I just want to be there to help get you through the day. So it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be very visualistic, not a bunch of B-roll and stuff like that. And I want it to be kind of laid back. You know, the live streams, we have a lot of fun and stuff like that. But I just want this to be kind of a chill out session. Once a week where I kind of just talk about stuff going on in the UFC and MMA community. And I'm going to try to get right to it. By the way, if you have any feedback on this format, any type of segments or whatever, feedback for that, let me know. Because, you know, I don't do this for myself, you know, to sit there and listen to. This is to hopefully provide something, you know, your little pocket, your little corner of the MMA / YouTube community where, because, you know, everybody has their different voice. There's a bunch of talking heads out there, talking beanies. So, you know, in one sense, we're all regurgitating the same news, you know, but people like to hear it from different types of people with different types of voices and whatnot. So hopefully I could provide that to you in a way that's consumable for you and that you like listening to on a regular basis. I figured I'd start out by talking about the White House card. I think there's something very weird going on right now with the White House card. I feel like when it first came up, it was like right off the bat, as far as a lot of people were confirmed. I'm not saying this objectively. I'm saying in people's minds right off the bat, it was political. And maybe I'm ignorant, but I chose not to look at it that way. I didn't happen to look at it. And, you know, I don't like the fact that I said I chose not to, because I feel like that makes it super conscientious and intentional. I didn't feel like it was political. I mean, clearly, long before Donald Trump was the guy he is today, long before he was the president, he was a fight fan. And back then it was boxing. But that was no surprise to me. I didn't think it was that weird. And I thought it was cool. And it was not for presidential reasons. It was not for political reasons. And it wasn't even necessarily that it was the White House. It would have been just as cool to me if it was like at the Statue of Liberty. If it was like at the Grand Canyon. If it was at at a pyramid or something like that. That you know what Fight Island was supposed to be. That's kind of, it's kind of like, and I always bring it up, it's like Street Fighter. You know, when you get to, like, it's exciting, you know, or like when you play Mario Kart, you get to choose like all these, like, where do I want to go next? And especially when you get Apex, it gets old, you know. And when they went to Fight Island, I remember I joked around, hey, for all we know, they're in the Apex right now. And they're just shooting to B-roll on the outside, making it look like they're somewhere else. But they're probably in the Apex. It's probably like the moon landing. They're just staging this whole thing so that Gavin Newsom doesn't come after them or whatever. They're probably in the Apex right now. And I remember I thought Fight Island was going to be like dudes in loincloths, and they were going to have the stick with the fire. What is it called? It looks like a giant Q-tip. I remember the other day on stream, I called it a tiki torch, but I don't think that's a tiki torch, right? Remember on Bloodsport? No, it was Kickboxer. When they had it was Kickboxer. Yeah, Tong Po was, rah! Remember they had the thing on fire? I keep calling them tiki torches, but I don't think that's what they're called. But that's what I thought Fight Island was going to look like. And to me, when the White House thing came up, it was like, okay, they're not gonna build like a whole building and hold it indoors. This White House event is at least gonna look, maybe not exactly, but it's gonna look more. It's gonna look closer to what I thought Fight Island would be than Fight Island was. So I was just excited that they were actually considering mixing it up and doing something different. And as fight fans, I was confused that people were acting like they didn't feel the same way. And then very early on, very quickly, it was like, oh, you're looking at it through political lenses. You're just, putting stuff into, you're inserting things between the lines. When this dude's just a fight fan who happens to be friends with Dana White, and he's like, hey, I'm the president. This will be a cool idea. And he wanted, it's like, okay, forget that then. Let's do it at again, Statue of Liberty or whatever. That was my thinking. It's just a location. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was going to be and some of this stuff, I'm absolutely repeating myself. But you know what? What's going to happen a little bit with these weekly episodes is I'm going to be saying things again, maybe in a more, not concentrated. I feel like I'm going to really be able to flesh things out more here than I would maybe like on a live stream. Because on live streams, I want to spend more time talking with you guys, going back and forth. I get distracted. People donate. Things are happening in real time. So here it's like I really get to expand on it a little more. But some of the things I know you've heard before. But I thought it was going to be the highest, most ultimate form of LARPing. Because once somebody could mentally get over, oh, it's political, I don't like this or that about the president at the moment. And once you could be like, okay, but it's different. It's not the Apex. Okay, it's not Abu Dhabi again, because Abu Dhabi's like Apex number 2 at this point. Okay, we're finally going somewhere else. Okay, I thought that was cool. And then it's like the highest, most ultimate form of LARPing. Wait a minute. This is to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, and it's American, and it's a red coat. This is crazy. And then they have like that built-in beef already, like the animosity. This is insane. And then that fell apart. And was it because Tomas Aspinall chickened out and ducked? Yes. I know people don't want to talk about that. I know that that's not a popular narrative. It's the truth. It's objective, but what I've learned over the years, truth is becoming less and less popular. And I'll tell you what I mean by what I'm saying with Tomas Aspinall. And you could get upset, and you probably will. You could get emotional. But again, I know this generation thinks emotions make you accurate. The more emotional you are and the louder you shout, that helps you. And then the more people you could get to do the same thing, because power in numbers or whatever, that can bend truth. But that's not the case. So Jones didn't want to fight Aspinall for whatever reason. And I don't even care to get into that conversation because, frankly, there's like at least a few potential reasons. But most importantly, for me, it doesn't matter. Because you could say he ducked him, he didn't want to fight him, the money wasn't right, but then the money was right. But then Jon Jones learned, hey, I don't think I'm motivated by the money. Look at my lifestyle. Look at where I live. I'm not somebody who's concerned with living lavishly. Look at the way I dress. Look at the way I move. I'm not motivated by that. I'm kind of a narcissist. Actually, I think I'm a lot of a narcissist. I like optics. I like to look this way, and I like to beat these kinds of dudes, and I like to be in charge, and I like to call this, whatever it is. It didn't make sense for Jon Jones. And he said, no. He didn't take the fight, right? Kept saying stuff like, this dude doesn't excite me. And for Jon Jones, that means something because Jon Jones is someone who's very in touch with when dudes do excite him. If you know what I'm saying. So when a dude doesn't excite him, it's like we got to trust his senses because he knows more than most dudes when a dude does excite him. So it's like, okay, he knows where the bar is at. No pun intended. So he didn't want to do it. Okay? That's established. Whatever the reason. Whether you're on his side or not, he didn't want to do it. But then when it became about the White House, because Jones didn't want to fight Aspinall at the Apex. And by Apex, I mean Abu Dhabi. Jones didn't want to fight him there. He was like, nah, it's another Dominic Reyes. And by that, I mean a dude that, people are going to pretty unanimously say beat me, and I don't want to deal with that again. Especially because they say the same thing about Thiago Santos, and how many times can I do this at the end of my career without ruining my legacy? So, I mean, that's a whole other, what legacy? But when it became about the White House, then Jon Jones was like, oh, I'm motivated by that. That's cool. Which I've never understood. And it has nothing to do with the president. It has nothing to do with left or right. I don't care what president it is. I can't even imagine being excited about that. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. You guys probably think I'm all tweaking out or something. I got something in my eyelashes, bro. It's been driving me crazy for like 6 days already. I don't know what's going on. But for whatever reason, he was motivated by that. And then he said, hey, I'll do it now. And that was after he had already vacated. That was after Tomas Aspinall had already... By the way, if this is bothering you, if me messing with my eye like this is bothering you, you're already doing this wrong. Because you're not supposed to be watching me right now. I'm supposed to be nestled away in your pocket next to your receipts and your gum wrapper. You shouldn't be looking at me right now. So excuse yourself. But, this was after Tomas Aspinall had already, and I want that to be a theme within this thing that I don't know what I'm calling it yet, but it's going to be keyword friendly. That's going to be a common theme within this thing that I don't want to hear anything about. Like, if I come in one day and I don't know, bro. I don't even know. I come in and I'm like wearing a stupid looking shirt, or I have like a purple robe on, or I got like, I put on the wrong beanie and it's like light green or something. I don't want to hear it because you're not supposed to be looking at me. I'm tempted to make the screen black. That is to be determined. What I was going to say is this was after Tomas Aspinall won the undisputed heavyweight championship title via unanimous text message from Dana White. So Tomas Aspinall is already the champion. Already has, champion. Already has the strap. And then Jones is like, I'll come back now. Which would be cool for Aspinall, right? Because now he gets to does he get to call this a defense? He didn't even have to fight. This is crazy, bro. Like, typically, wow, man. Like, there was some history made with Aspinall. Like, as far as I remember, the situation was with Aspinall, that was the first time ever, if I remember correctly, the first time ever that someone was an interim champ. And then they got leapfrogged, and then someone else fought and was champ, like, over them. Like, Aspinall had won the interim title, and then Jon Jones and Stipe Muchacho. Man, what is happening, dude? All these afflictions that I'm dealing with today. First, I say, don't trip, you shouldn't be looking at me. And now I'm being afflicted with an audio tick, and I can't stop hiccuping, and they keep turning into burps. If I remember correctly, Tomas Aspinall had won the interim strap, and then Jon Jones and Stipe Muchacho were like, hey, let's fight for the real one, and left the interim champ out. So there's that, which I think that's the first time that's ever happened, where they just like disregarded the interim champ like that, which they should, because that's not a real champ. But then on top of that, is that the first time ever? Let me know. Is that the first time ever that someone who was, by the way, it's hilarious that they leapfrogged over him, fought for the real bout, and then when that champion, Jon Jones, was like, yeah, I'm done, then they're like, hey, you know how you had this fake title and we leapfrogged over you for the real one and disrespected you, didn't care? Let's just go ahead and turn that fake one into a real one now. Like, is that the first time ever that an interim champ, they just said, hey, just be the champ now. Just be the champ. And not made him have to fight for it? Am I remembering this incorrectly? Because now I feel like an idiot. Now I've talked about this for like 7 minutes just on this point. When Aspinall fought Gane, was that to unify it? Wasn't that a defense? Because I'm pretty sure before Aspinall fought Gane, he was going around saying, I'm the champ now. Dana called me. He told me I'm the guy now. This is undisputed now. It's all me now. I'm pretty sure. And if that's the case, that's hilarious. And please tell me. I know I can use Google, but I need some comments. I think that's the first time ever that someone had an interim strap and they're like, just be the champion. Go ahead. It's fine. It's fine. You know how like when a parent is like, they had a long day and they're exhausted and they're like, what, you haven't had dinner yet? You want marshmallows for dinner? Go ahead. Go. Okay, fine. But you're not going to do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow they're going to do it again. And you're probably going to do it with them. I've had marshmallows for dinner. And I don't feel bad about it. Do you understand that this 3 meals a day thing anyway is like a very, very modern... It was made by the Rothschilds to make money. The Rothschilds own like big cereal. They own everything. 3 meals a day is a very, very, very modern invention. People didn't eat like that in ancient times. And that's why we're a bunch of tortas now. Because the body is not meant to consume in that way. Eating has become a pastime. This is for a different show. I'm going to mess up my keywords because AI screens the entire video for the things that I'm saying. So anyway, Jon Jones. I already forgot I was talking about this. Jon Jones wanted to come back. He's like, now I'm excited. Now I want to fight at the White House. And Tomas Aspinall said, nah. No. Chale. So the whole community was giving Jon Jones a hard time the whole time. Duck, goose, duck, the whole, and then just loving Aspinall. And again, I know I've talked about this nonstop. And I think there's a singer named A.A. Bondy, Bondy, and he made one of my favorite albums of all time ever in the history of my life, A.A. Bondy. And that is one of the rare albums. Parachutes is one of them. You already know this. That's one of the rare albums that I could listen to and enjoy immensely from start to finish. It's called American Hearts. A.A. Bondi has an album called American Hearts. It is like the most beautiful thing I've ever listened to. And there's a song on there, and I can't remember what it's called. So you have to listen to the whole album. But I know it's a picking song. And he has a line in that song, and it just always, bro, I was a teenager when I first heard that song, and it has been embedded in the depths of my beanie ever since. I haven't been able to stop. It is such a heavy line. He says something, it goes, love, he goes, and love, it don't die, it just goes from girl to girl. He's saying love doesn't die. It just goes from girl to girl. He's just like harping on his like relationships and experiences with love and different girls, and how he's like, oh snap, I loved this girl and I was with her and we had these moments together and I thought I was gonna be with her, and then blah blah blah, I went south, and then now I'm with her. Wait, now I love her and I think we're gonna have kids together, and I can't, but I love her even more than the last one. This man, and then stuff doesn't go right, and then he goes over here and then he loves her, and he's like, oh snap, it's almost like I just got like this portion of love. And I've been dealt this portion of love, and I just got to figure out what to do with it during my time on earth, And he realized it just goes from girl to girl. That was his life experience. And he just got to find out, where's this going to make the most sense? And I looked at the situation. You got to listen to the album. Report back. I looked at the situation with Jon Jones and Tomas Aspinall like this. And it seemed very observable. It's not a matter of opinion, that because of how much people have hated and hated and hated Jon Jones more and more so over the years, and the situation that he was in with Tomas Aspinall, I feel like people like repurposed and redirected that energy and that passion, the amount of hatred that they had for Jon Jones. It's like it kind of turned into love and adoration for Tomas Aspinall because of the situation that they were in together. And I feel like people that would, and I know that this isn't, I'm making a blanket statement here. And I'm not talking about Charles Oliveira dominating Max Holloway for 5 rounds. I understand that there are some people out there that are British and they like Tomas Aspinall. I get it. But I fully believe that there are far more people out there that started to love and root for Tomas Aspinall solely rooted in because of how much disdain they had for Jon Jones. Because passion, it don't die. It just goes from fighter to fighter. And it's the same concept. I'm not talking about love, because it wasn't love for Jon Jones, but it was just like this enthusiasm, this passion, this energy that was very negative for this one dude. And then, of course, the contrast, it turned into love and adoration for Tomas Aspinall. And, of course, that's gone now because the dude needs a publicist or something. He's a self-sabotager. Did he get poked in the eye? Is Cyril Gane a dirty, rotten cheater? Yes. But Tomas Aspinall did more damage to himself than Gane ever could have done. And I'm not even talking about just because Gane was clearly winning the fight and was going to win the fight. I just mean specifically the eyeball situation. Tomas Aspinall did more damage to himself than Gane would have ever even done, even going the distance and dominating and outclassing Aspinall for a whole 5 rounds. But it's interesting because wanted to come back and fight Aspinall. Aspinall said, nah, I don't want to do it now. So everybody was rooting for Aspinall, backing him. Aspinall was like all upset, saying this is stupid. On and up for what, 2 years? It was wrong. It was messed up. Jones is a punk. This is unprofessional. But then that all goes away. When you're holding the strap, that doesn't exist anymore. Is it payback? Is it revenge? Because he was saying it wasn't. He was acting very indifferent about it. But his perspective completely changed. It completely changed after that. Now that it's him in the situation, I think he felt justified. I think he felt okay. I think he felt like there was a lady in the news. I can't. There's been a few ladies. There's been a few ladies that cut off their husband's peepees. And it's like, yes, maybe he was a bad dude, but it doesn't give you the right to do that, you know? Just change the locks or whatever. You know, when you go to Home Depot, just get some new doorknobs. You know, don't get shears. Don't get an axe. Just get some new doorknobs. Could change a lot of people's lives. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm not sure why I started talking about Tomas Aspinall. Oh, so that's what it was supposed to be, right? Wow, I went on way too long with that. It was supposed to be the highest, most ultimate form of LARPing, but Tomas Aspinall ducked. And if you disagree with me, articulate. Tell me why in the comments. Tell me how this is wrong. When Aspinall held the bout and now he was champion, and Jon Jones said, hey, I want to fight you at the White House, and Aspinall said, nah, I'm not interested in that. Nah, I don't want to hear it. How do you respond to that? Don't mention the 2 years prior and blah, 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 blah. When he held the bout and Jones wanted to fight at the White House, how come he said no? Why did he do what he criticized a guy for doing before? Anyway, that's what the event was supposed to be. And then it changed to honestly, should I have done my research? Yes. Because I've heard two things. It's not on the 4th of July anymore, which is stupid. Now I'm upset because I was backing the White House. I was championing it. I was saying everyone's a crybaby. This is cool. Get over it. It's supposed to be a freak show. That's what fight fans want to see. I think they've just been confused over recent years. It's supposed to be a freak show. It's not supposed to be a respectable, professional event. When John McCain called it human cockfighting, that was a compliment, and he didn't even realize it. Anyway, it changed from the 4th of July, which now made it not be the ultimate, most highest form of LARPing and not be a reenactment of the, you know, I heard it was two different things, that it was going to be on Donald Trump's birthday and that it was going to be on Flag Day. Now, I don't know if those things are one and the same. I don't know if Donald Trump was born on Flag Day. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not on the 4th of July anymore. It changed. And that bothered me because then it started to seem, now is it political? Because if it's on the 4th of July, it's like, hey, can't everybody get behind that? And I know one side tends to seem like they hate America more and are like destroying it from the inside out. But still, I think at the core, it seems like I think everybody could come together on, shoot, I don't even know anymore, bro. There's people who refuse to celebrate the 4th of July. There's people who refuse to celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't know what's going on anymore. So who maybe I can't even speak on it. I don't know. But it changed to sometime in June, I guess. And that was frustrating. And who cares? I just wanted to touch on that because I thought it was weird. I thought it was interesting. And again, maybe I should Google it. I'm not sure, even as of right now. I have no idea why they changed it. Was there something that made it 100% impossible to do it on the 4th of July? Did they have a good reason? Or did they just, on purpose, rickroll us? I don't know. But anyway, Donald Trump was saying that they are going to do like the best card ever. And that it was going to be like what? What was the first version he said of it? Because I keep hearing people say, because I've heard like 2 or 3 different people when they're telling their version of this story, they'll go from 8 or 9 to 6 or 7 down to like 3 or 2 or whatever it is. I think it's only It's one real championship and one interim, right? But which even the main event is not a real one because Dustin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett were not the real contenders. So they got the champion fighting someone who wasn't even a real contender. Should have been Sarukian. Anyway, I keep hearing people start with like 8 or 9. Didn't Donald Trump say 12? And I don't know if I'm crazy or if people just don't want to go that far back, and that's why I haven't been hearing it, and they already forgot. I feel like from the start, it was 12. And I remember joking about it and thinking they're going to have to make, which there's already a precedent for it in the UFC. They've made a BMF title. And then the joke was, I think I was the first one that joked about it. And then I think DC said it right after. That, hey, this is going to be hilarious if they start doing BMF defenses. And then they started doing it. And then the fake bout even before the BMF interim titles. And I remember, I probably have it somewhere here in one of my notebooks. I'm sure I'm not fortunate enough to have it in this notebook right in front of me, of course. So, Marilena was doing math on here apparently, like if she's 11 years old. So I remember joking that they were going to have interim title fights, that they were going to have BMF title fights in different weight divisions. They were going to have a Legends title. They were going to bring like old dudes back. They were going to have an intergender title. They were going to have an open weight title. I was coming up with, they were going to have like a Fallon title. It was going to be like Cain Velasquez and Jon Jones maybe. It was going to be like all these different titles, all these different things that they could do. But then it went down to 8 or 9, 6 or 7. And that was like half. I don't even count it. The Ilia one doesn't even count. The Cyril Gane and Pereira one, that's an interim. It's a fake title. It doesn't count. Ilia and Gaethje, give them half. That's not even one real title fight. That's like half. Because Gaethje shouldn't even have the strap. So I remember thinking they're going to have to make up bouts. They're going to have BMF titles for different weight divisions. This is going to be insane. It's going to be hilarious. And of course I said that in a positive way, that I was going to love it. And then it got heavily diluted. Now look, here's where I started off with my point about 32 minutes ago. I was saying that when the White House thing barely came up, everybody was crying about it. Well, a lot of people saying how dumb and how weird it was. And I felt like it was my responsibility to remind people, hey, fight fans are supposed to like the freak show. That's what it was from the start, back in the early 90s. That's what it was supposed to be. And I give the example. Back in the day, watching UFC, and Joe Rogan has said this himself when people would ask him, what do you do when he would commentate the events? And he would feel kind of ashamed and embarrassed to tell him. Being a part of UFC culture back in the day when it was raw and fresh and brand new, it was like how people look at X-rated films. Watching the UFC was like watching X-rated films. Imagine going to an event. Imagine being in 1993 and telling your homies, hey, we're going to go bowling. We're going to go. He's like, hey, I can't. I got tickets to something. And they're like, what do you mean? And he has to tell them it's the UFC. And they're like, what the? Back in the early 90s, attending a UFC event, that's got to be like on par with like, remember when they caught Pee Wee Herman? Remember when they caught Pee Wee Herman in the movie theater, treating himself like if he was Stretch Armstrong? You know what I'm talking about. And I love Pee Wee Herman. No disrespect. But back in the day, going and watching a UFC event, it was like the same thing. It was hush mode. Even renting I've even told the story, even renting the VHS back in the day. Remember when you went to the mom and pop, it wasn't like Blockbuster, but like the little mom and pop shops where you had to go, there's like that room, it has like the beads. You can't even see through it, or some of them. I remember the little town I lived in, they had like the saloon doors. And I remember when I was a little kid, I would crawl under sometimes so the guy couldn't see me from the front. Because if he sees the doors open, then he knows something's up, but I would just crawl underneath. But it's like, you would have to go into one of those rooms. They had like the candles, and they had like you know what I'm talking about. They had like the adult VHS tapes in there. And that's the only place you could find UFC. That's how it was. And it was a beautiful thing. And, John McCain called it human cockfighting. Again, no pun intended. But he didn't realize that was a compliment. That's why people liked it. It was a freak show. That's why people liked football back in the day, because it was rugged and it was crazy and it was tough and it was for men. And now it's just more political stuff. Now it's just more agendas. Now it's how can we destroy from the inside out and destroy the on-paper core audience of the NFL and make this about money and business. And that's what's happened with the UFC. Because the way that I look at it, by the way, I told you my memories of when I was a little kid going into the mom and pop shops with the adult films. Years later, and I didn't want to forget to tell you this. Years later, when I was adult, I was actually at a have you guys ever heard of a place called Rasputin's? I loved it, man. It was called Rasputin's. I don't know if it's just regional or if it's like all over the nation. I don't know. If you don't know what Rasputin's is, it was like amazing. It was kind of like, remember, what was it called? The Warehouse from back in the day? It was a place that has a bunch of CDs and DVDs and vinyl albums. And it was just a bunch of like memorabilia and like little figures and toys from different movies and stuff like that. And I remember I would always go to Rasputin's, and I would like to, this was like before, I was a young man. This was like, I was still a young man. This was before Fight Pass. And I would go to places like Rasputin's, and I would buy like old Kung Fu movies, just martial arts movies. And I remember one time, because they had redecorated, okay? Or how do you say, they had rearranged stuff. Because I had been to Rasputin's a lot of times. So they threw me off. And I was like unfamiliar now where all the sections were at. So let me remind you, and listen, this is not a joke. I've discovered sometimes on here, people think I'm just trying to be silly and I say things that is any of it true? And it frustrates me. I'm not joking right now. I went in there with the intent to find some Kung Fu movies. And you see the big placards that say like comedy, drama, whatever. I saw one, and it was very, very much out in the open. No saloon doors, no beads in the frame of the doorway. I mean, very much out in the open. It could have been out there with documentaries, There was a placard that read big and bold, Extreme Asian. And I thought, surely this is where the Kung Fu movies would be. And don't call me Shirley. Extreme Asian. Surely this is where they will be Kung Fu fighting. So I meandered over into the Extreme Asian section. And I got to tell you, I remember some of the other gentlemen that I saw in that section before it really occurred to me where I was. And I thought, these dudes don't strike me as the kind of dudes that will be looking for Kung Fu movies. And I started rifling through the inventory, and to be honest with you, and this is just one of the things, I don't know if it's part of the Asian culture, I don't know, but there are a lot of them. There's a lot of Kung Fu movies that like to show skin. They got like geishas and whatnot, and I saw some things I was like, okay, maybe not this one, and okay, maybe not this, maybe not this. What the? Am I like in the Kung Fu Geisha section? What's happening? And then it started to dawn on me what exactly it was that was extreme about these particular Asians. And in that moment, I was trying to figure out, do I just like dart out of here, like if there's a bomb, or do I play it cool and just like, nah, nothing's really tickling my fancy today. I don't think I see anything I like. I'm gonna go get a documentary. So I was like Mr. Bean in that moment. I was like, you know how he kind of spazzes out? I was kind of looking around, and I think it was kind of coming out exteriorly even more. Like I was a mess in here. I mean, visibly, I don't even know. And then, honestly, I can't remember if Marilena saw me in that section and saw me coming out, or if you know what is coming back to me. I think when, because I remember she was like, "What? Why? What happened?" I think I approached her, and I was like, "We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go." She was like, "What? Let's go." And then I had to tell her on the way out. It came back to me, and she thought it was hilarious. She thought it was hilarious. She doesn't think it's hilarious when it's on my computer, but she thought that was hilarious. I think she thought I was like, he's being a good boy. He's saying, "Let's go." So that that is like, not exactly my point. That was just a little anecdote I wanted to share with you. But again, back to the early days of the UFC being like adult films. You know what I'm saying? That's the tone that it carried. It was gritty and rough around the edges. It was like Faces of Death type of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, you're watching that? That's what you're into? And I feel like when the White House event was mentioned, people forgot about that. People forgot. Fight fans forgot where they came from. Fight fans forgot their culture. We got fight fans today acting like, they're NFL fans. And it was disappointing to me. And I kept harping on that. Hey, remember where we came from. Remember what it was like. It's watered down now. It's become mainstream. It's become commercial. It's like that band that you never wanted to tell anybody about. You wanted to keep it under wraps. It's like that restaurant, that hole in the wall Chinese place you like. You don't want to tell anybody about it. You don't want them to go mainstream. And it's difficult because you want it to thrive. You want it to do well enough not to be canceled, but you don't want it to go too mainstream because then it's going to be ruined what it was. It's just like the Rolling Stones, man. Have you heard their first earlier albums? And same thing with Coldplay. I think Coldplay is the best example. I'm telling you, Parachutes is a flawless album. Flawless. And then after that, it's like, are they trying to become like a combination of U2 and Maroon 5? What are they doing? They got lost. Anyway, people were upset about the White House card. And they didn't want it to happen. And I felt like it was for all the wrong reasons. And I felt like we should be rooting for it for all the right reasons. We should be mixing it up. We should be going to different locations. We should be bringing the freak show aspect back. We should be cracking out of the monotony of the Apex. We should be doing, if we are going to disrespect contenders like they're doing anyway, if we are going to disrespect the rankings and all sensible matchups, let's go full freak show. Let's not have one chancla in, one chancla out. Let's go all the way. Let's have Ronda Rousey fight Tony Ferguson. Let's go all the way. And then for a long time, it was lingering. How many title fights? Are they going to make up titles? Who's the matchups? This is going to be crazy. Jon Jones, yeah, let's have Jon Jones. I don't want Jon Jones. He's a bad guy, but let's have Jon Jones. I think he's a go. Yeah, but look at all the things he did. But all that back and forth. Oh, Conor McGregor's going to be there. I don't want Conor McGregor. Whoa, how come you don't want Conor McGregor? Because he's a bad guy. Well, don't you know that most of the time bad guys fight the best? Yeah, I know, but it's going to make me look bad if I root for him. It was just the whole time back and forth. People saying who should be there, and then people saying that they don't want them to be there for the dumbest reasons, right? And And then we finally got the list. They finally released the list. And when Dana White released the list at UFC 326, he couldn't even hide his shame. And it's hard. I feel bad for Dana White because he has such a big, like, there's so much space here. He's got such a big face. He has a big dome. And when you have that much of a canvas, it's you got to imagine it's even harder to hide expressions. So he's got a lot to work with right there. The width, it's inescapable. So he came on UFC 326 and he had to reveal the list. And even, him right there and Joe Rogan, even Joe Rogan was like, okay, so we got Topuria and what's the other dude's name? And I'm not pretending like I'm Joe Rogan right now. I actually forgot. So we got Ilia and we got Gaethje and then Pereira and Gane and then all the other ones. Like it was hilarious. Right on the spot, even in the moment, you could see how underwhelmed he was. He tried to find ways to talk about the first two in exciting enough way, and then after that, it was like, oh, and the other ones, yeah, and all the rest. And Dana the whole time just kind of looking down, just tail between his legs. Which, by the way, this is for a whole other video. But I don't think Dana, I don't think this is a surprise anymore. I've been saying this for like a month, and I think everyone else is finally catching on. Dana does not seem to be in any capacity, aside from what he said about Hunter, in any capacity, in any kind of form of being in charge anymore. I think there's people pulling the strings at the top. And even I got to come to his defense. And I know it's a meme and everyone makes fun of him and everything. I think that Dana probably agrees more with the people than he does with the people above him about what the UFC should be doing right now and where it's failing. And of course he has to keep up appearances and he has to tell us, oh, don't watch or whatever, because he needs to keep making his money. But I think at the end of the day that, of course, even at the beginning of the day, that he probably tends to side with us more about what the UFC should and shouldn't be doing than with his bosses. Anyway, he revealed the list. And you guys have seen the list. And it seems like almost immediately, it seems like the same people that were complaining about the White House, it just seems like everyone is so concerned with feeling like they need to be on the right side of history that they'll say the dumbest things and stand by the most stupid things. And as soon as it came out, you had all these like MMA Puritans acting like they had to defend the card to the death, Now, the first 36 hours maybe was probably the most like, oh, this is underwhelming. Oh, this is disappointing. But it feels like so many of those people did a quick about face and are now, treating it like, when you really hype up like Tyrone Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, it's like we got those people that really feel like they need to prove their worth in the MMA community or show how much of a non-casual they are. I don't know, especially since the Netflix card was announced. Especially since that, people are going so hard on defending this card. And it makes no sense. You have Ilia Topuria and Dustin Gaethje. You have a dude that's fighting to unify his interim title that shouldn't even hold the interim title. He shouldn't even be there. It should have been Sarukian. And also, you got a dude that ran for months from the real contender who actually said out of his own mouth multiple times, I'd rather vacate than fight him. And actually divorced his lady, tore his marriage apart, his family apart, just to justify ducking. Imagine the commitment. Actually ruining your marriage, going to court, having all this drama just to avoid Sarukian. That's a big compliment to Sarukian. And then forget the fact that Gaethje shouldn't even be there because Sarukian should be there and Gaethje's not even a real contender. Gaethje double to the second power. That's as much math as I remember. Shouldn't even be there because Makhachev was supposed to be there. Makhachev was supposed to be there, and they were supposed to be fighting at 170. This is a backup fight. Your main event at the White House, main event, is a backup fight. Alex Pereira and Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane, the dude that everybody hates, the dude that nobody wants to see anymore. And I don't know, I'm trying to relate nobody wants to see, and then the fact that he eye pokes everyone and they can't see, I think that's an interesting connection. Nobody wants to see that dude anymore. And everyone, people are experiencing what they're referring to as Cyril Gane fatigue. Title shot after title shot. What is he? Diego Lopez? And he wasn't even supposed to be there. It was supposed to be Jon Jones. So your co-main event is a backup fight. Your two main events are backup fights. Sean O'Malley and Aleman Zahabi. Okay, I know that people that want to seem hardcore and non-casual are acting like this is a blessing in disguise. Okay, cool. But the White House card? Nah. This is a dud for the White House card. This is one of those deep cuts where, again, people feel like they have to root for it because it makes them seem like they really know and they're really tuned in with MMA because of Zahabi. But for the White House card, no. There were so many other people that O'Malley could have fought that would have made it more exciting. And O'Malley is coming off of losses and barely like razor thin wins that people are saying like, should he even have won that? And if he didn't win that, was he gonna quit or get cut or retire? Like the worst narrative and storyline for him right now. Sean O'Malley probably shouldn't even be there, period, no matter who he's fighting. Mauricio Ruffy and Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler has become like the meme of the UFC. The meme. For a number of reasons. How's he even on the White House card? Period. Now, if it was Chandler versus Conor, that's like the only thing that's inexcusable. I mean, that would be excusable, that would be passable, because they become like a meme together and how they've been supposed to be doing this thing for like the past 7 years. So that would have been the only thing they could have gotten away with. Bo Nickel and Kyle Dawkins. Bo Nickel, I mean, have they ever, it might as well be Patty Pimblett again. It might as well be Paige Northcutt. I mean, could you push this dude anymore? You're making us hate him. Now, does Bo Nickel also make us hate him? Yes, but also UFC, you're making us hate him again to the second power. Diego Lopez and Steve Garcia. I'm not even going to pretend that I know who Steve Garcia is because I'm not afraid of looking like a casual. I'm fine with that. When it comes to the White House card, I shouldn't have to try to act like I know all the dudes on the prelims and all that. The White House card should be main event. Everyone I've heard about 1,000 times. And Diego Lopez, again, who is he? Cyril Gane? How many times are you going to try to shove him down our throats? I feel like when I was a little kid and I was trying to learn how to swallow a pill, that's what Diego Lopez is and Cyril Gane. They're pills. Hey, Dana White. Excuse me, I apologize. Hey, UFC. Hey, people pulling the strings. How about instead of trying to make me swallow the pills, how about you give me the liquid? That's what a White House card should be. Let it flow down smoothly. Give me the liquid. I like when it stings the throat anyway. I like when it hits it's like when you go bowling with the bumpers. I like how the liquid hits all the parts, you know. I feel like it starts working. Is it whatchamacallit? What's it called when you take something and it's fake and it just makes you feel better? Is it a you're gonna have to tell me in the comment section. But you know what? Again, I think it's the people pulling the strings. I think it's the people pulling the strings. I don't think it's necessarily Dana White, but the card is I don't care. I'm not afraid of looking like a casual. The White House card is nowhere near as good as the Netflix card. And I believe if they would have had this White House card and the Netflix card on the same day, I think Donald Trump would have skipped out on the White House card. If they would have had it on the same day, I think we'd be seeing Donald Trump sneak out the back door and he'd be going to the Netflix event. That's what I think. I think that's why they had to make sure it wasn't on the same day. Because even Donald Trump wouldn't be there. Here's what the UFC is not understanding. We're nostalgic. We love to see the people that we love. We get attached to these fighters, to these characters. Remember watching WWF back in the day? Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, Doink. We got attached to these dudes. Even Goldust. We got attached to these people. And when they went to other promotions, WCW or whatever, when Hulk Hogan went to WCW, oh, I'm over there. Oh, I'm over there. We're going to follow the people. And I know UFC is trying to say, we don't want any more Conor McGregor. It's not going to be about the people. It's just going to be about exciting fights. Not the people, it's the fights. But we're nostalgic. We make fun of Tony Ferguson. We start to make fun of Nate Diaz and that he's just a walking blood drive. But you know what? We miss them when they're gone. And I'm not afraid to say I think the Netflix card is better. I think it's better for the fighters. I think they're getting paid more in a single fight on Netflix than they ever got paid, ever. In UFC, I think it's better for the fighters. I think it's better for the fans. This is the guinea pig, by the way. This is the guinea pig. They'll do more, and they'll get better and better. This is the place where we could see Jon Jones versus Cain Velasquez on Netflix. And by the way, I think we might see Gable Stevenson going to Netflix. You think Jon Jones, his mentor, after everything he's been going through with the UFC, now trying to get the heck out of there, is going to be like, yeah, go to the UFC. He's going to tell him all the horror stories. He's going to tell him, bro, you know how long I fought in the UFC? You know everything I dealt with? Why are you in this? It's a career. You're trying to make money, right? Dude, go to Netflix and in one fight, you'll make more than I ever made. You think Gable Stevenson is going to go to UFC after everything he's been seeing from his mentor? Listen, if you liked this format, if you liked watching, by the way, if you're still here, you're like the 0.5%er, and I got mad love and respect for you. But you know what? Even if you did stay till the very end and you do love this format and what I'm talking about, unfortunately, to the platform, they don't care. And it doesn't matter unless you hit the like, comment, subscribe, share, hype, all that kind of stuff. I would appreciate it very much if you would do that. I've been doing YouTube for a decade now. This month in March, I've been doing it for a decade. And it hasn't gotten any easier. I think it's gotten harder. You got to play the game. You got to tickle the algorithm. So if you liked this, please let me know. Please leave comments and do all the algorithm stuff. And I plan on doing it once a week. And since I did it today, probably going to be every Thursday. That's what I'm thinking. I want to keep it consistent. Again, I want it to be really relaxed, laid back, simple. Just about an hour long, once a week. No visuals, just something to talk into your ear while you're going through different portions of your day. And I can't stress enough, if you like this, please let me know, because I definitely don't want to try to get into a rhythm of doing something that nobody wants. So let me know if it's something that you want to see once a week. And again, if you got some you know what I want to say, if you got like ideas or segments or anything like that, let me know. But I also don't, because that would make it feel like work, and I kind of like just going off the beanie and just kind of speaking as things come to me. You know, that's my style. That's how I like to do things. So thank you for being here. And I'll see you on the next one, right? Or you'll see me. I mean, I know, like, in a way, like, I have an awareness that, or a hope that you'll be there, but I can't see you, you know. So I guess I'll be seen by you next time. Thank you for watching whatever the heck I'm gonna call this show. Appreciate it. Good looking out. Late.